You know, that old saying, what the eyes don't see, the heart doesn't feel. Forget it. Because there's something happening above our heads that'll make your heart race even if you can't see it. What you're about to hear in this video isn't a theory, it's not made up, and it's definitely not a one-off. We're talking about a real audio captured during a commercial flight where pilots, trained, experienced, and not easily spooked, report an encounter with something that just shouldn't be there. And the worst part, no one explained it. No one wanted to explain it. Ever wonder why so many pilots, air traffic controllers, and experts are silenced when they talk about UFOs? Because if the public really knew what's going on behind the scenes in aviation, the world might not keep spinning the same way tomorrow. Sounds like an exaggeration? Just wait until you hear what leaked. In this video, you'll dive into an unfiltered account, a chilling case recorded in the skies that points to something much bigger than a UFO sighting. This, my friend, is about control, cover-ups, and a truth that's about to explode. Before you think about clicking away to the next video, if you're searching for answers, if you feel something's off with the authorities' silence, stick around until the end. Because what you're about to hear isn't just another UFO 2025. It's a kind of revelation that changes how you see the sky, the truth, and the system itself. The sky's always had a certain mystery, hasn't it? Since we were kids, we've looked up trying to figure out what's beyond the clouds. But what if I told you that mid-flight, seasoned pilots, people who handle radars, compasses, and turbulence like it's their morning coffee report encounters with objects that just shouldn't be there? This isn't barroom gossip. These are official reports. UFO sightings are becoming more frequent and documented, and the people flying the planes are saying things that defy common sense. When a pilot says, "That's not from this world," you listen differently. What's most curious and downright unsettling is that these incidents don't follow a schedule. They pop up out of nowhere at commercial altitudes during routine flights. That's exactly what happened in the case we're exploring with this leaked audio. A calm night, a clear sky, and then an eerie silence on the radio, followed by a metallic sound, and then the controlled panic in the captain's voice. No one expects to hear an object ahead with no transponder, moving in a zigzag. Pilots know that's not in the manual. And this, my friend, isn't fiction. It's UFO 2025 in real life. What'll really make your hair stand on end, even if you're bald, is that these reports are piling up. Different voices, different backgrounds, but the same patterns: silent objects, impossible movements, instant disappearances. The term UFO doesn't even cut it anymore. This is deeper, more sinister. And the question that keeps hammering like a cockpit warning is, if these professionals are seeing what they say they're seeing, why are we still treating this like a joke? And if this leaked audio is just the tip of a much bigger iceberg, the first thing that hits you when you hear a cockpit recording with unexplained interference is the silence. But not just any silence, it's the kind that screams. Pilots usually stay calm even during mechanical failures or storms. Now imagine one of these pros cutting off the transmission with a "my God, what is that?" That's when you know something's seriously off. Even if the passengers' hearts don't feel it, the radar knows something's wrong. UFOs have this uncanny habit of showing up when no one expects them, and worse, defying the logic of flight. One case that stands out is a Boeing flying over the Atlantic, picking up weird interference in its instruments. The radar just stopped responding like it was being jammed. 10 seconds later, a blinding white light appeared ahead. No turbulence, no storm, just the feeling that something was watching. And this isn't just movie stuff. Many reports talk about presences, not just objects, but intelligences. Yes, intelligences. That completely changes the UFO sighting game. We're talking about something that seems to have intent. And the craziest part, many of these cases are ignored, filed away, or dismissed with a stamp and a case closed. But the voices are still there. The audios leak, the stories spread, and the curiosity only grows. So here's the nagging question. If these objects really aren't a threat, why the massive effort to hush up the reports? And more, if they're not ours, whose are they? Maybe the answer lies not in what they say, but in what they refuse to say.
Had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object.
What's really unsettling, realizing this isn't just one or two isolated reports, when you start digging into these audios and communication logs between pilots and control towers, a pattern emerges, and that's what separates rumors from evidence. UFOs aren't just popping up in the public imagination or sci-fi movies, they're showing up on commercial routes, near military bases, and even over densely populated areas. And they do it without asking permission, without explanation, they just appear. In the aviation world, that's not just weird, it's dangerous. There are records of unidentified flying objects tailing planes for entire minutes, performing maneuvers that defy the laws of physics. There are even reports of objects suddenly vanishing from radars or worse, passing through commercial aircraft like metallic ghosts. It's as if reality is trying to show us we don't know half of what's happening above our heads. And the term UFO 2025 isn't some sensationalist hype, it's describing a new era of UFO sightings, now backed by technology, data, and of course leaked audios. Here's where the real weight of these records comes in. They create a timeline parallel to the official story. A history that's not in textbooks but in black boxes, confidential reports, and conversations that never reach the public. We're dealing with pieces of a puzzle that are slowly coming together, and the picture forming is at the very least disturbing. But the most intriguing part, these audios are just the surface. Because there's something even more revealing lurking, the behavior patterns of these objects. And that takes us to the next point. When we talk about intelligent behavior from an object in the sky, a lot of people raise an eyebrow like it's too big a leap. But what would you say about an object that follows a plane for miles, mirrors its maneuvers, responds to altitude changes, and then vanishes when another plane approaches? That's not coincidence, nor is it a glitch. It's a response, and a response implies intent. These behaviors are what really rattle those studying UFO sightings. Let's be real, no known terrestrial aircraft can hover at high altitude, accelerate like a missile, and make sharp turns without tearing apart the laws of physics. Yet that's exactly what pilots report and record. Some radar experts call it non-inertial flight analysis because the object's movements don't respond to any known forces. It's like they're ignoring gravity. And if you're wondering, here's where things get tricky. Because it's one thing for a strange object to cross the sky, it's another for it to seem like it knows what it's doing. The impression, and it's not just an impression, is that we're being watched, mapped, maybe even tested. In several audios, pilots say the objects seem to be playing with them. Playing. That word used by military personnel reveals more than they'd like to admit. And if we're being watched, who's in control? Ever wonder why, with so many documented cases, there's still a deafening silence from authorities? It's almost like we're watching a play where everyone knows the script, except the audience. Pilots report, towers log, the data exists, and then poof, it's gone. Files are classified, audios disappear. Witnesses are advised to stay quiet. This isn't paranoia, it's protocol. Anyone who's dealt with an incident like this. What's curious is that behind the scenes, there's a clear pattern. Reports sent to the responsible agencies don't make headlines. They become secret statistics. In more serious cases, witnesses are reassigned or relocated. Ever heard of the captain who was transferred after reporting a UFO 2025 chase over the Pacific? He didn't break any rules, he just said too much. The silence here doesn't seem to come from fear of the unknown, but from fear of losing. But there's one thing even the biggest efforts can't hide for long: leaks. These little cracks in the dam reveal what's being covered up. Audios, documents, images, a network of independent investigators, enthusiasts, and retired military personnel is doing what governments refuse to do: tell the truth, or at least parts of it. And if the rabbit hole seems deep already, wait until you see what emerges when these data points are cross-referenced, because the story changes. Here's something curious about these objects: they don't show up randomly. When you start cross-referencing data reports, times, locations, a pattern emerges. They appear in areas with intense electromagnetic activity, near military installations, and often after advanced technological tests. Coincidence? Maybe at first. But after the third, fourth, fifth identical case, even the biggest skeptics start scratching their head. The behavior pattern of UFOs suggests much more than random. Some leaked audios show pilots shaken, noting how the object seemed to know where to go. How so? Simple. It changed course before the plane did. It avoided direct visual contact. It vanished from radar just before being triangulated. That's not chance, it's tactics. Imagine a drone that predicts your next move. Now imagine that on a global scale with different models and flight signatures all showing the same behavior. That's when the uncomfortable idea hits that we're being studied. But it doesn't stop there. Radars pick up these movements, and when analyzed by experts, they show routes impossible to replicate with current human technology. The term UFO 2025 is increasingly tied to this new wave of systematic, organized sightings, as if they're following their own protocols. Protocols that don't come from any terrestrial control tower, and when the behavior is consistent, the next step is always the same approach. Because what these patterns are revealing. Take a deep breath and picture this. You're on a calm commercial flight when the cabin's tone shifts. The captain, noticeably tense, announces a route change for safety reasons. Nothing said to the passengers. Outside, there's no storm, nothing on the civilian radar. But up there, amid the sound of the wind and the engine's hum, something's shadowing the plane. And it's not a bird or another plane. It's something no one wants to explain. Reports like this surface every now and then. Some flights vanish from radar for minutes, then return like nothing happened. Some pilots report time lapses, others recall feeling a presence, something almost intuitive, almost spiritual. You can't measure that with tech, but you can feel it in their accounts. Passengers sense something's off, even without an explanation. It's like the very space around the plane shifts. And these moments aren't isolated. They're connected. And when you put them side by side, what's most striking is when one of these audios slips through the censorship, when a recording from one of these flights leaks and hits the internet, as it has before, that's when the truth takes shape. Voice. And once you hear a trained pilot used to electronic warfare and instrument navigation say with a trembling voice, "I don't know what that is," you never hear the sky the same way again. The impact is profound, almost transformative. And the most shocking part, these are just the cases we get to hear. Ever heard of invisible airspace control? It sounds like fiction, but it's being discussed by military personnel and analysts worldwide. The idea is simple and at the same time terrifying. The sky might be shared with entities or technologies that don't follow the rules we know. They don't identify themselves, don't obey control towers, and more curiously seem to have access to privileged information. It's not an exaggeration, it's a pattern. The records of so-called UFO. There's a standout case during a night flight over Europe. 2 planes from different airlines reported the same object at different times, at different altitudes, in different locations, but with the same description. That's too much coincidence to ignore. And there's more. Both flights passed through the same air corridor, just hours apart. The question is, what was that object doing there? Monitoring? Waiting? We can't know. But one thing's clear. Completely changes. But what's even more unsettling, the fact that no one comes forward to explain. Nothing. No statement, no press conference, no transparent investigation. And who's left to deal with it? Us. The average citizen who searches, studies, connects the dots, and realizes they're being misled or at the very least underestimated. Because in the end, this isn't just about UFOs, it's about truth. It's about who controls the narrative. And when that control slips through the cracks of a leaked audio, the curtain starts to lift.
Almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast. Targets up here, we just had something go right over the top of us. That, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object.
We've reached a point where the most common question isn't what are these things, but why now? Why in recent years have the reports spiked? Why are pilots once so cautious starting to speak more freely? And most importantly, why are so many of these cases surfacing through leaks, not official channels? The answer, though uncomfortable, seems tied to the saturation of silence. At some point, hiding too much raises more suspicion. What makes the UFO 2025 phenomenon so unique isn't just the technology involved, it's the courage of those who, despite the risks, choose to speak. Air traffic controllers, radar operators, former military personnel, all bringing to light what they saw, heard, and felt. And these aren't cold technical reports, they're personal, visceral experiences that changed lives. One tower operator said, "After that contact, I never looked at the sky the same way." That's the real consequence of all this. It's not just a matter of. And maybe that's why so many are starting to pay attention now. Because when you hear these audios, read these reports, hear the emotion or fear in the voices of those who lived it, something inside you shifts, your mind opens, doubt becomes a driving force, and the search for truth becomes a personal mission. Maybe the UFOs aren't just out there, maybe they're here all along, waiting for us to finally look up with the right eyes. So after all this, tell me, do you still think we're alone? Or deep down, have you always known there's something more? What's at stake here isn't just the existence of UFOs, it's how you deal with the truth. When a pilot mid-flight breaks the silence to describe the indescribable, it's not just them seeing something different, it's our entire reality that needs recalculating. So I ask you, will you keep accepting the official versions, or will you start listening closely to what's between the lines? Will you keep looking at the sky for shooting stars, or will you start recognizing the signs when they appear? Because the signs are there. In the audios, the reports, the silences, the difference is that now you're listening with new ears. And the next time a radar fails, maybe you won't think it's just a technical glitch. If this resonated with you, if it sparked any curiosity or doubt, subscribe to the channel now, hit the bell, because what's coming in the next videos goes even deeper, and here we won't stop until we find the answers no one wants to give. Are you ready to keep searching?